President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received Burundi's president on Wednesday on the sidelines of COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. President al-Sisi welcomed his Burundian counterpart for participating in the climate change conference and expressed a desire to boost integration among the African nations in the fight of climate change. For his part, the Burundian head of state expressed appreciation for Egypt's leadership and people. Also on Wednesday, President al-Sisi received the Tanzanian President Samia Hassan on the sidelines of COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. President al-Sisi welcomed his Tanzanian counterpart and expressed condolences to the Tanzanian people on the plane crash incident in Victoria Lake and to the victims of the families. For her part, Hassan praised Egypt's efforts in organizing the climate summit, asserting that it is considered a historical success for Egypt and the entire African continent. COP27 continued its activities in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh for the fifth consecutive day on Wednesday. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli attended a session dubbed Climate Finance in the Multiply Crisis Era. Here's the story.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli participated in the session dubbed Climate Finance in Multiply Crises Era on Wednesday as the COP27 conference continued its activities in Sharm el-Sheikh. Madbouli asserted that climate change crisis negatively impacted on developing countries, highlighting the importance of reducing the dangers through early alert mechanism. The Prime Minister stressed the significance of abiding by the outcomes and recommendations of COP26, which was held in Glasgow last year, by doubling their climate fund and implement effective early alert systems for mostly affected people. He pointed out that Egypt is implementing several projects and programs in the field of transforming to green economy. Addressing the session, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres reiterated that there are many gaps in financing the climate change issue. Guterres called for intensifying serious efforts to provide the necessary resources in this regard. He stressed the significance of facing the climate change repercussions as one of the top global priorities and called for reducing the usage of fossil fuel during the coming period. Nuclear energy supporters, including politicians and activists, sought to polish the industry's spotty image, using the conference to argue that atomic power offers a safe and cost-efficient way to decarbonize the world. Rising concerns about the swift pace of climate change and tight power supplies around the globe have softened some policymakers' view of nuclear energy, and industries that has struggled for years to draw investment because of worries about safety, radioactive waste, and the huge costs for building a reactor. The International Atomic Energy Agency opened an exhibit at the UN climate gathering, expounding the technology's potential in the fight against climate change. U.S. Special Climate Envoy John Kerry pumped up the industry by announcing the U.S. Export-Import Bank's formal interest in providing $3 billion in financial support for a nuclear plant in Romania.
On the sidelines of COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Nile TV senior correspondent Taghreed Hussein conducted the following interview with Stijn Vermoort, ECMWF head of section user uptake and partnership.
The sessions here at COP27 are continuing discussions, vibrant talks, all are definitely working together with this sense of togetherness in order to fight climate change, because it is a COP of action. It's a COP of implementation. We're really honored to have with us Mr. Stijn Vermoort from Germany, responsible for partnerships and uptakes and user data. I thank you so much, Mr. Vermoort, for being with us here on Nile TV.
It's truly a pleasure to be here in Egypt for the COP27. I think the hospitality, and it's a pleasure to be here as a stakeholder to support the COP27.
I thank you so much. And first of all, let me ask you about your impressions visiting Sharm and tell me more about the vibrant sessions you participated in at COP and also your expectations.
Well, Sharm el-Sheikh is of course a very vibrant environment, and it's very nice to be here. I see a lot of nice accommodation which allows us to be here all together. because you have to see it as a way to bring the world together to talk about the big challenges which climate change bring. So it's not only about climate mitigation, but it's also about climate adaptation. And in terms of climate adaptation, we in particular at ECMWF, we are interested to see how we can provide added value with data, climate data, weather data. And an example on where we have provided quite a lot is our collaboration with the Union for the Mediterranean. Union for the Mediterranean brings together all the countries of the Mediterranean, including Egypt, to talk about how we can tackle the challenges on climate change.
That's great, and it's great that you mentioned data because science and technology are definitely very important tools if we're talking climate change. Climate tech today is a very important and a successful component that would help us lead all the way to success. Tell us more about your vision vis-a-vis the importance of providing precise climate data in solving the big crisis.
Thank you for your question. It's a very interesting one and a very important one. So what we need is not only the data which underpins the science to understand climate, but we also need data which allows us to take action. Now it's time for action. And to allow action, we still need the data to support all these decision makers. An example is how we can provide data to solve issues on food security, how we can solve issues in emergency situations, how we can provide data which supports health or energy related situations. And on all those elements, we provide data which is quality assured, which comes with support to those who need it, and translate it into something which is useful for decision makers. We can't do this on our own. We are one of the players. So what's important to do this is to work with partners, to work with partners in the different countries.
Yes, and I'm happy that Egypt is a partner in this successful equation.
Yes, indeed. So Egypt is one of the member states of the Union for the Mediterranean with whom we have a partnership, and they provide the political context. They bring together all the different entities who are pushing forward an agenda, and we are there to, as climate and data specialists, to provide support for those people to make decisions.
That's great. Well, definitely in the field of climate tech, I guess that the world is changing actually very fast, and technology today is like revolutionary. It would bring amazing results. Well, it pops up a question in my mind to ask you more about robotics and how robotics also in the future is going to play a big role in user data and in providing this sense of precise data that we need.
Well, there's a lot of new technologies which will help the further advancements on the provision of data. And one example is robotics, but another example is what climate models and artificial intelligence and machine learning can provide. And on this, there's a lot of things which happen. In Europe, we're working with an initiative called Destination Earth. And Destination Earth is trying to make a digital twin of the Earth, simulating, in fact, the different elements of the Earth, how it works, how the physics of the world works, how the chemistry of the world works, and bring this together in one global vision so we can make decisions based on this. To do this, it's not only the law of physics and the science which allows us to do this, but it's also all the novel technologies like big data management, which comes with machine learning, artificial intelligence. All these new technologies are there to push more out of the data so we can derive valuable information out of it.
It's very important reaching precise information, valuable information that can really make a difference. Out of COP27, definitely here, it is a very healthy environment in order to like brainstorm new ideas and share data. Are there any space? Is there any space for signing partnership with other partners around the world here at the sidelines of COP?
Oh, COP is a brilliant occasion to talk about partnerships. because you bring here in Egypt all these different entities together, and we are able to talk about what's needed to bring together knowledge and to share knowledge and to
You know,
share
we have a
data.
knowledge bank in Egypt, and
Yeah.
this has been definitely also a brilliant idea
Yeah.
that would further foster and help implement those ideas into action.
Yes. So I fully agree with what you state, and the example which I will bring is of course the partnership which we have with the Union for the Mediterranean, which push in fact actionable data for the Mediterranean basis, because it's really one of those areas where the climate crisis is one of the highest.
Yes. This sense of togetherness here we need to highlight more. We need to invest more in our partnership together. What's after COP is also very important, which is following up on the implementation and what has been reached and achieved here. So how do you see that, working on the implementation of the recommendations and the follow-up mechanism afterwards?
Well, a very important thing is to look into investments. How will we invest further in what has been agreed, so that the people who are really those who need to take action are fostered or give the means to do what they need to do.
Provided incentives
Yeah,
to do
so
that.
they need to provide incentives to do this. It's on one side funding, it's one thing.
Climate
Training.
finance is featuring high
Yes.
on the agenda of COP27, definitely.
Indeed, it's very important. Another thing is capacity building, training, education. It's very important to make sure that people know what's at stake, so awareness rising, but also to allow them to use all the data and information in the best way possible, because it's still a complex thing. So it's not something which goes without the background. You need to training to understand how data is used, all the uncertainty linked to it, and how you combine it with socio-economic data, with data which is specific to different sectors, how you can apply it for food, for the energy sector, for the health sector, and all these things need to be put on the agenda to make sure that you have the people and that you have the capacity so they can push it forward. And these are people at universities, these are people at research centers, these are people in the private sector, it's also important. And all this together enables us to make better decisions and help us to advance further.
Yes. How do you see the role of the private sector working hand in hand with governments in order to achieve that?
Thank you for the question. It's very important. The private sector has a very important role to push further the agenda, because often they have the dynamics and they have their own way of pushing things through. The private sector, and I'm talking here about consultancy firms, I'm talking here about the banks, I'm talking here about innovation actors, really are there at the forefront of what's possible in terms of technologies. We talked about technologies.
Yes.
Often they also come with funding, which enables entities to move forward. And often they are the ones who think about solutions which are possible in the long-term future. So we need to make sure that the private sector is involved, that they get the means, that they get the setting also, the administrative setting to make sure that they can thrive and can advance on their investments.
Yes, definitely. From the mother of the world to the whole world, a message from COP27. What would you say?
The most important message. I think the most important message is that from my side, as a data specialist, we need to make sure that the data which we provide is actionable. And to make it actionable, we need to make sure that people understand the data, that they have access to the data, and that they can do this in combination with so many different partners to make it work.
I thank you very much, Mr. Steve Monti from Germany, working in data usage, and a specialist and an expert in the field. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us.
very much, and I'm happy that you invited me to talk about this as a representative of ECMWF. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And dear viewers, that was Mr. Steve Vermouty talking about the importance of technology, because climate tech is very important, and in the forefront here we need data usage in order to achieve decisive results and in order to make good decision making. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up.
Egyptian ambassador in Greece, Omar Amir, said that the Egyptian embassy in Greece continued its communications with the concerned Egyptian authorities in the past days to follow up on the developments of a drowned illegal migration ship. The embassy said it facilitated the procedures for the families of the victims to have DNA tests to identify the dead bodies, adding that it is following up on the procedures daily. The embassy also offered its condolences to the families of the victims. A strong